I saw a reference yesterday in the Times about the city considering P-22 to be Los Angeles' king. I know this morning that you feel you've lost your king, but he's never, ever going to be forgotten. And we can't let him be forgotten. We put him in this predicament because of our built environment. We can fix this. We need everyone to stand up, raise their voices, create this movement to fix that built environment. So these majestic animals have the freedom to roam and connectivity for their future. I'm really sorry. I'd like to end after we hear from our doctors, and let me hand it over to Dr. Deanna Clifford. Thank you, Deanna.
Thanks so much, Chuck. I think this situation is really challenging for all of us. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm from the San Gabriel Valley. My first experience in conservation was the Los Angeles Zoo, and this led me to the career that I have now. So I have a deep connection with the Los Angeles area, and it's where my family still lives. I want to give you a little bit of information on how the situation unfolded, what we did to provide the best medical care possible for P-22, and then I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Nolans from the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, who will provide additional details and walk you through the process that their veterinary team went through while P-22 was in their care. So we knew from our previous release that P-22 was starting to struggle in the wild. It had a change in his land use and behavior. And there were some camera images that showed that it looked like he was getting thin and his hair coat didn't look really well. So that's when you saw the department and the park come together and realize that we needed to preemptively capture and examine the cat and try to understand what was going on. At that point in time, behind the scenes, I had spoken with Dr. Nadine Lamberski at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. They have incredible diagnostic capabilities, and we wanted to do the right thing and get the most diagnostics with the least amount of potentially moving the cat around to different places. Our plan changed on Sunday and Monday morning, December 12th, when we had multiple reports of a mountain lion being struck by a vehicle in P-22's territory. Jeff Sikich, biologist for the National Park Service, was able to locate P-22 using the signal from his collar, and he was safely captured in a backyard not far from where these reports occurred. At that point, I changed my plan. The priority became getting P-22 the fastest veterinary assessment possible, and we called upon our partners at the Los Angeles Zoo, who rapidly mobilized to receive P-22 for initial triage. They did a full exam and gave P-22 treatments that were for pain relief and to address what we could already tell were traumatic injuries from that presumed vehicle accident. The veterinarians at the LA Zoo deemed P-22 stable enough to continue his journey to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, where we knew we had the capability of a computerized tomography scan, a CT, that would be needed to fully assess the degree of those traumatic injuries and other health problems that he had. So P-22 arrived in the evening on Monday at the safari park. And as Dr. Nolans will show you, and Chuck articulated so beautifully, as the news came in from these different tests, it became clear and clear that there were more health problems than initially suspected. And I think right now, maybe it's a good time, Dr. Nolans, to talk about those.
Thank you, Dr. Clifford. This is Henrik Nolans, Vice President of Wildlife Health, San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. So P-22 was admitted to our hospitals as a trauma patient. We initially stabilized him further so he would be a stronger candidate for general anesthesia, and subsequently did a more complete thorough exam under general anesthesia on him. This included a full body physical veterinary exam, a suite of laboratory tests which checks organ function, infectious disease screening, full body ultrasound, etc., including a CT, a CAT scan, as Dr. Clifford mentioned. It was indeed pretty apparent pretty early on that there had been acute injuries. This was a trauma patient that were consistent with the vehicle strike. This included some fractures. We noted some fractures to the skull bone, injury to his right eye, some skin injuries, and then, but most importantly and most concerningly, a herniation of his abdominal organs into his chest. And perhaps rather than trying to explain this with words, maybe this is where we can cue some of the images that we have chosen to share, because they'll say a lot more than words, I think. Is that possible to put up the imagery, Jordan?
Yep, I'm on it.
What you'll see next is two images. The first one is actually a comparison image of a large cat of similar size that is completely normal, clinically normal. We'll go to slide, please.
Can you please confirm that you can see it?
We can see your presenter screen, not the. Yes, okay, this is the one. Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome.
So what this is a CT scan of a normal large cat of similar size. I'll walk you through this real quick. Basically, just to orient everybody here, at the top of this screen would be the head. Off the top of the screen would be the head and front legs of the cat, and off the bottom of the screen would be the hind end and the tail of this cat. In a CT, anything that is white is tissue or bone, soft tissues or bone. Anything that is black is either air or fluid. And as I mentioned, this is a normal cat. We have some images labeled here for your reference, because they will be useful on the next slide. At the top, you see the heart. The black space surrounding the heart is the lungs, and then the bottom half of your screen is the abdominal organs and the liver. You'll also see something labeled there called intact diaphragm. The diaphragm is the membrane that separates the organs that are in our chest and in our abdomen. Next slide, please. This is the comparative CT scan, body scan from P-22. So the position of the image is exactly the same, but what I hopefully will stand out to everybody, what I really want to point everyone to is that this black space that is surrounding the heart in the normal cat, which are the lungs, has actually been replaced with this white tissue area, which is the liver, and actually even some abdominal fat that has been pushed into the chest cavity. What this means is that the diaphragm, so there's a membrane that is supposed to separate the organs in the abdomen from the organs in the chest, has been torn. This is likely due to the impact of the vehicle strike, and some of the internal organs, in this case the liver and some abdominal fat, have been pushed through this tear in the diaphragm into the chest. And Jordan, maybe it would be helpful to go back and forth a few times, and I want people to pay attention to slide one, thank you. So please note, above all, note this black space that's surrounding the heart at the top. These are lungs, normal inflated lungs. Now we'll go back to P-22. Next slide, please. And you'll see that this space has been largely occupied by things other than lung that don't belong here. What this means is that P-22 has obviously a trauma, but this really reduces lung volume, lung function. It has implications for blood flow to some of the internal organs, causes discomfort, and maybe some stomach involvement, etc. Thank you. Jordan, you can take us down. In addition to these acute these injuries that are consistent with an acute event such as a vehicle strike, over the next subsequent days, as laboratory test results started to come in, we also uncovered a number of other chronic, pre-existing, and at times life-shortening conditions that P-22 had. Perhaps most notably, the extensive weight loss. We noted at least 20%, but perhaps this was far greater than that. Importantly, he had a stage 2 or mid-stage kidney failure. He had advanced renal disease. We uncovered he also had advanced liver disease. And now increasingly, even in the last 24 hours, we learned that he may have had heart disease and potential developing heart failure as well. In addition, he had a very uncommon parasitic infection, an uncommon parasite that had infected his skin pretty much all over the entire extent of the body, which suggests that there's another underlying cause that we actually even hadn't diagnosed yet at this time. Dr. Clifford.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nolans. I appreciate that.
So I think we're at the moment where I'd like to say a final remark and move to questions. I think Jordan can help facilitate questions. Let me pause, and I see Seth, perhaps you've come off. Would you like to say something?
Is that all right, Chuck?
Please.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be available for too long on the questions, but I just wanted to say it's a hard time, of course, and yeah, we're really gonna miss following him, and it's already this week. You know, we don't get to go and look and see his points on the website and see what he's doing. But I want to say too, I like to think in these times of a celebration of life as well. And he was really an extraordinary animal in many ways. I think he really taught us and helped us in a number of ways. One of which is he showed us what animals have to do in this kind of a landscape, that he was able to navigate to this relatively small natural area by navigating past major freeways and finding a place for himself. But then he also, I think, really showed us what is possible, what they can do by surviving in this tiny home range, smallest home range that anyone has ever documented for a male lion, and coexisting with thousands and thousands of people in Griffith Park and in Los Angeles for that whole time. So I think it's sort of amazing in that way. And then, as we've all said, he was hugely important in being an ambassador for his species, for wildlife, but also for connectivity. And the result being that we have this crossing over 101 that is already under construction. And not only has that happened, which is going to make a huge difference for the wildlife in our area, but it also is just leading to more and more interest, as you mentioned, Chuck, and others have, in connectivity across the state and across the West. And so it's really an extraordinary legacy, I think. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Seth, I'm eternally grateful for the partnership we have with you and Jeff and David in the park. And you've been with him his whole life. And this is how I would just like to also conclude remarks. I know my decision is causing a lot of pain right now. Before this call, I sat down with my son, who's 11 years old. And I can imagine right now a similar conversations going on across Los Angeles and the country and the world. Whether you're talking to your child or a friend, family, I think this is a conversation that complete strangers are going to have with each other because the animal brought us together. And I'm just really sorry for the pain, but I hope people move through the pain at their own pace and find hope. In a total coincidence, my family is actually leaving this morning for Los Angeles for the holiday. And at the end of the conversation with my son, he said, "Dad, I'm going to go to Griffith Park and I'm going to go for a hike." on his behalf. So I would encourage anyone that's listening, and when they receive this news, find a way to honor and then rise up in the movement. Let's make a difference so the rest of the large animals out there have a future that's brighter.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel and download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.